100 fists. And... Huh. Why am I not attacking? Hello? Game? Yep. That's me. I bet you're wondering how we... What do you mean that's you? That's me. I mean, technically it's you, but you're my character, so... Hey, that's not fair. I'm just trying to... We'll start from the beginning then. Happy? This is Final Fantasy XI, a game from an era of grindy and punishing MMORPGs. If you wanted to make progress, you'd park your butt in town and shout to the heavens for hours, praying that you find a group. And you needed a group, because playing solo was not something most people did. It was just too risky and too time-consuming, unless you were a Beastmaster, and we don't talk about Beastmaster. Over the years, the player base began to decline, so Square Enix made some changes allowing new players to make progress. Now, you want to do some leveling or questing? Don't wait in town for hours trying to get help, only to spend 30 minutes running to an area just to have your party disband after 6 kills because the white mage disconnected. Just summon some friendly NPC party members and do things when you're ready, at your own pace. Which is great and all, nobody should have to suffer through looking for party help, but I've always been interested in the idea of soloing. Not the kind of soloing where you take endgame equipment to older areas, or the more modern version using a party of fake players. I'm talking true start to finish solo progression. I want an idea of what it would have been like to see the game as if there were never any other players around to help out. And so this challenge was born, where I make a fresh new character and ignore everyone else around and do the whole game myself. Of course, before we get started, we gotta lay out the ground rules for this challenge. Let's start easy with rule number 1. Solo play only. Pretty obvious, but that means no partying with other people, no trading, no auction house, nothing that intentionally involves another player. Rule number 2, no trust magic. Remember what I said about summoning friendly NPC party members? Those are called alter egos, or just trusts for short. I call them dead weight. Well, actually they're pretty good, but that's kind of the problem. They're too good. I'm not using them. This rule is specifically for trusts, though. Anything else that brings temporary allies into the battlefield, I'm still allowing. Rule number 3, level caps. But Yahuda, you can just kill weak things to get to level 99 and do most of the game pretty easy. Wrong. Well, alright, this is where things are going to get a little complicated. I don't want to make light work of 90% of the game. Sure, there's plenty to keep the last bit interesting, but come on. There's so much interesting stuff before that too. No, I say. I want things interesting no matter what level I am. So, for any battlefield that previously had its level cap removed, I'm going to try to be at that original level when I do the fight. That said, the game really isn't designed for this, so this rule is kind of more of an art than a science, and if things look genuinely impossible, we may have to relax this a little bit. Oh, and I'm not doing any limit break quests until I beat this guy. So for the time being, I'm locked at level 50 outside of battlefields. Again, more of an art, not a science. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it for now. There is a rule number 4, but I didn't have it fully in place when I started, so I'll spare you the long explanation for now. As for what my overall goal is, I'd really like to finish Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, the ultimate expansion for Final Fantasy XI. But that, dear viewer, is quite far away indeed. Alright, rules done. Let's make a character. I'm picking Elpin for the race because I don't care much for minor stat differences, and I just think she's cute. For a job, I'm starting with Red Mage, because it can hit things kinda good and cast a lot of spells, and until we have a sub-job, I need that flexibility. Finally, we just need to pick our starting nation, and since we have to play through them all eventually anyways, I'm picking Sandoria, since starting as an Elven in Sandoria means we get a free Sandorian ring, and I like free things. And with that, our girl Vaylin is able to take her first steps into the world, and as a fresh level 1 character, there's not much we can do yet. Not until we get a few levels under our belt. That means it's time to grind. We grab some free meat jerky, pick up Signet from the guards, and head out of town to do our first bit of leveling. We can only handle the low-level wildlife outside of town for now, but they thankfully aren't much of a threat, and a few kills in, we get our first treasure casket. On top of their normal loot table, enemies in some areas can randomly drop treasure caskets when they die, which come in one of 2 flavors, blueberry and brown berry. I don't know where that joke was going. Blue caskets give consumables that vanish when we leave that zone, while brown caskets force us to play a number guessing game that, if we win, gives us items or equipment we get to keep permanently. We crack our first casket and are rewarded with some eye drops and a fresh new pair of shoes that we're not high enough level to wear yet. I'm not going to go over every casket opening since they're fairly common, but a lot of our early equipment does come from these. Anyways, after a brief campaign of wildlife slaughter, we make it to level 5 in short order, then it's back to town for some important unlocks. Stepping back into Sandoria gets us a cutscene that starts and completes our first Rhapsodies of Vana'diel mission, Resonance. Then we talk to an NPC to unlock Records of Eminence, a series of bonus tasks for everything from killing enemies to crafting that rewards skill, experience, and a special currency called Sparks. We can immediately put this to work by setting objectives to join some of the guildmasters around town, getting us to level 6 in the process. Since we're not quite ready to get into crafting yet, joining is all we can do for now. The last thing we need to do before we head out is pick up a couple spells. I sell some of the extra equipment we've been hoarding from caskets so we can learn Cure, Stone, and Poison, giving us a couple more options in combat. Then it's back out for some more grinding. We want to hit somewhere around level 12 so we can start working on our Sandoria missions. With Records of Eminence, we speed through to level 9, but then we run into our first Notorious monster, Jaggedy-Eared Jack. Notorious monsters are rare, harder variants of other monsters in the area, usually having special conditions to spawn and are coveted for their unique drops. In this case, Jaggedy-Eared Jack is infamous for his rare rabbit charm, a necklace specifically designed for thieves that has decent low-level stats and a bonus to the steal skill. Now, I've got some history with this rabbit, having camped in many times over the last 20 years, and have not once gotten the rabbit charm from him. At this point, it is a personal life mission of mine to tear this rodent down every time I see him. Unfortunately, he's a bit stronger than us right now, so we're gonna have to get a little creative. I spent some time killing monsters in the area, keeping track of my current experience so I don't level up just yet. Once I'm just shy of level 10, I weaken another rabbit and bring it with me while I start the fight with Sussy Jack. We have two problems going into this fight. The first is that, right now, Jack has more health and deals more damage than us in a straight up fight. The second is that we have two rabbits hitting us instead of just one. It would usually be insane to bring an extra enemy to a fight we already can't win, but I have a plan. We open the fight by pelting Jack with magic and fast blade, our sword weapon skill, to deal tons of early damage. Despite that, our health is tanking quickly, so once it gets too low, I quickly finish off the weakened rabbit, bringing us to level 10 and giving us an immediate full heal. This second wind is a big advantage, but even that isn't enough on its own. Jack's damage is simply too much for us. There is one ace in the hole that every job in the game has, made exactly for this sort of situation. An ultimate ability that is incredibly powerful but with a steep hour-long cooldown, and it's time to use red mages. I pop Chain Spell, giving us a whole minute to cast spells with no cooldown or casting time. This lets us quickly weave casts of Cure in between our sword swings, slowly making up for the health deficit. Then once we're healthy enough, I switch to casts of Stone to deal the last bits of damage we need to finish off this foe. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, and don't worry. Jaggedy-Eared Jack has maintained order in the universe by once again refusing to drop the rabbit charm. One day, Jack. One day. After that, we nab a couple more levels, then head back to town so we can start to work on our first long-term goal for the account. Sandoria Mission 5-2, the Shadow Lord, which, based on our restrictions, is currently locking our level cap to 50. A normal player with trusts can easily make it to that point within a few days of starting, but it's going to take much longer for us. To get there, we'll have to get through the rest of the story up to that point first, which brings us to our first nation mission. Mission 1-1, Smash the Orcish Scouts. The guards want us to kill some orcs outside of town and come back with an axe as proof. While we were leveling, we came across an axe already, so we can turn straight in and move on. Mission 1-2, Bat Hunt. We're sent to investigate the nearby tomb after hearing of some disturbances. The tomb is not far from town, so we head there and slay a few bats for the quest item, get lost in the maze for no good reason, and get a brief cutscene after searching a gravestone. Second mission down. Mission 1-3, Save the Children. A boy from the church is missing. Clues lead us to a nearby orc outpost, where we get in a brawl to try and save them. After the fight, we see the boy returned home safely, and And just like that, we're rank 2, ready for our next tier of missions. Mission 2-1, Rescue Drill. The guards are running a rescue drill and want our help. When we show up, we've realized that one of the guards has actually gone missing. Thankfully, we find him and arm him so he can get out safely. Another mission down. It's time to take a break from these for a while, since the next 2 are going to need us to get stronger first. In particular, we really need a sub-job, and to get that, we need to complete Elder Memories, a level 18 quest in Selbina. To get there, we have to run through Valkyr Dunes, our first relatively dangerous area with high-level goblins itching to tear us apart. We could try to carefully sneak around them, or just sprint for our lives and hope we make it to town before they can finish us. I'm sure you can imagine what actually ends up happening. In Selbina, we get a cutscene that properly starts Rhapsodies of Vana'diel. Apparently, the mayor is looking for us, and if we want to find out what's going on, we'll need to give him 3 clumps of bee pollen. Agreeing immediately moves us to the next mission, Set Free. Completing this mission is important because it gives us a key item that instantly finishes the Elder Memories quest. The normal method requires collecting 3 annoyingly rare drops from monsters around Valkyr Dunes, and since we're doing this mission anyways, we might as well take the shortcut. To get the bee pollen, we head into Kronstadt Highlands, dodging even more goblins along the way. Once we make it there, the plan is simple. Commit absolute ecological disaster against the local huge wasp population. After about an hour of pest control, we head back into Valkyr Dunes and polish off a few damselflies to finish our leveling requirement, then return to the mayor. That wraps up Set Free and starts the next Rhapsodies mission, but that's a problem for later, because we can finally unlock our sub-job. A quick sprint down to the shoreline brings us to Izasio. Handing over the letter completes Elder Memories and unlocks the ability to use a support job, or sub-job for short. We can now equip a second job alongside our main one, gaining access to most of its abilities and spells. The catch is that the sub-job is capped at half the level of the main job, so at level 18, the best we can get out of a sub-job is level 9 worth of benefits, which is great news, except for one small problem. We don't actually have any other jobs leveled yet. So before we can wield the mighty power of sub-jobs effectively, we first need something to actually use as a sub-job, so it's back to Sandoria for now. The job I decide to level first is White Mage, since it gives us access to healing magic that a lot of other jobs desperately need. Jobs like Warrior and Monk hit hard, but they don't exactly come with a built-in survival plan. Leveling White Mage feels pretty similar to leveling Red Mage, just with slightly less damage and a lot more healing. Since we already have Red Mage leveled up, we flip things around and use it as our sub-job while we grind. A few hours later, White Mage hits level 20. From there, we swap things back, returning to Red Mage as our main job until that reaches level 25, which should be good enough to keep working through missions. From Selbina, we can finally continue the Rhapsodies storyline by catching a ride out to Norg, Gilgamesh's hidden pirate hideout. A couple of cutscenes later, we wrap up both the beginning and Flames of Prayer. The reward from Flames of Prayer is especially valuable, a key item called Rhapsody in White, which gives us several permanent bonuses like 30% increased experience gain, cheaper teleports, and access to a special shop that sells all kinds of useful items. Now, technically, we could have done this before leveling White Mage to take advantage of that 30% experience bonus, but I forgot, so that would have been nice. Sandoria Mission 2-2. Davoy Report. Back in Selbina, we pick up 2 incredibly important spells, Sneak and Invisible. Sneak makes our footsteps silent, while Invisible turns us, well, invisible. With both active, we can safely slip past enemies that would normally turn us into floor stains. With our newfound stealth powers, we make our way to Davoy to continue the Sandorian mission line. Our goal is simple: gather intelligence on what the orcs are up to. We sneak around the stronghold, talk to a few NPCs scattered around the area, then report our findings back to a gate guard. And that brings us to Mission 2-3, Journey Abroad. This mission sends us around the world to check in on Sandoria's allies, but more importantly, it ends with our first real boss fight. For most players, this marks the first time you're expected to make friends, which means it's going to be our first real obstacle. We teleport back to Selbina and walk to Bastok, where the embassy asks us to investigate the nearby Palborough mines. While running around these areas, it becomes painfully clear that navigating without maps is not great. Thankfully, we've built up a decent stockpile of sparks from Records of Eminence. By buying equipment with sparks and reselling them for gil, we're able to convert our sparks into money and purchase every map available, making navigation instantly exactly 10 times less miserable. We explore the mines and do as we're asked, and then it's time to head to Windurst. Our embassy here has heard reports of a strange monster, so we run over to Gideus to investigate. Deep in the back of the zone, tucked away in a secluded chamber, we finally find what we're looking for. And after a short cutscene, we're pulled into a battlefield. I decide to jump into the fight immediately, just to scout things out, and, well, it goes about as well as you'd expect. I got smushed while the Searcher was still sitting at half health, and we haven't even touched the dragon. But, despite the quick loss, I'm actually feeling optimistic. The biggest mistake I made was targeting the Searcher first. It mostly hangs back and casts spells, which means its damage is annoying, but manageable. As long as we stay out of melee range, it'll spend half the fight doing nothing. The dragon, on the other hand, is the real threat. It has hard-hitting attacks that make outlasting them both a real challenge, so I think it's time for a new strategy. Rather than aiming for a long fight, we can instead aim to kill the dragon as fast as possible. Red Mage could maybe handle that using Chain Spell, but I think I'd rather have a more consistent option that doesn't rely so much on MP. Instead, we're going to give it a try with Monk. Monk is a heavy-hitting melee class built around hand-to-hand combat. It has the ability Dodge that gives a temporary boost to evading attacks, but more importantly is its ultimate ability, 100 Fists, which drastically reduces the delay between attacks. Or in other words, punch things very, very fast. And I'm pretty confident this will be enough to get us through the fight. But first, we need to level up and get some gear for Monk. With White Mage as our sub-job for some emergency healing, we spend a few hours grinding until Monk hits level 24. Something made easier with our new 30% experience bonus. Then from there, it's time to pick up some better equipment. First up are the Bounding Boots, dropped by the notorious monster Leaping Lizzie in South Gustaberg. These boots give plus 3 dexterity and plus 3 agility, which is a huge stat boost at this level. Several hours and 4 kills later, we finally walk away with our shiny new pair of boots. Next up is the Empress Hairpin, dropped by another notorious monster, the Valkyr Emperor, who is generous enough to give us the drop on our very first kill. The Hairpin lowers our maximum HP slightly, but in return, we get plus 3 dexterity, plus 3 agility, and a massive plus 10 evasion. Finally, we're looking for Battle Gloves from chests in King Ranper's tomb for a small accuracy and evasion boost. To open the chests, we first need to locate one, then defeat local monsters until they drop a key. Then we use the key to open the chest and, surprise surprise, we get the gloves right away. Honestly, we've had great luck so far, and I'm ready to push it by giving the battlefield another try. With Monk main job and a White Mage sub job, we equip our new gear and head back to Gideus for round 2. This time the plan is simple. Stay out of melee range of the Searcher and burst the dragon down. I charge in, activate 100 Fists, and stare at the boss for about 15 seconds. Yeah, I may have made a little bit of an oopsie here. So let's talk about Monk's other job ability, Boost. What it used to do was make your next attack or weapon skill do slightly more damage. Now, instead of boosting your next auto attack, it heavily delays it to let you pair it with a weapon skill. So, by using Boost here, I basically turned 100 Fists into 0 hands. Not good. At this point, the fight's already going downhill fast. Health is dropping, I'm panicking, I'm trying to figure out why I'm suddenly not doing anything. Realistically, I should probably just accept the loss and try again later. But I'm stubborn, and I've got one more trick up my sleeve. I came into the fight at level 24 instead of going to the level restriction of 25, so I could once again take advantage of leveling up for the full heal. So with my health nearly gone, I dive into the menu, pop an objective for completing a previous mission, and boom, level 25 and a full fight reset. Boost finally stops sabotaging me, and 100 Fists kicks in and does what it's supposed to do. And we finally put out enough damage to drop the dragon. We take a moment to heal up, ignoring the Searcher's spells until we're full health, so we can be sure we're not wasting our only free full heal, then beat the Searcher down in short order. And on our second attempt, we secure our first big win of the challenge. We report back to the embassy, then return to Sandoria to finish the mission, being rewarded with mission rank 3 for our efforts. And I think that's where we're going to wrap up this video. We've taken our first steps into the challenge, and nothing has been that hard so far, but there's a huge wall looming in our future, and we're going to have to do some things that may never have been done before. I hope you'll join me next time as I start preparing for Prometheon.